Hey guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 364. In a few minutes, we're going to bring our guest Randy Chang on the show. Randy is the director of instruction at Journey at Pechanga in Southern California, and he's been on the show before. It's been a while. It's been back in episode 111, which
way
was
back
5 years ago,
Wow.
Mike. Almost hard to believe it's been that long, but wanted to bring him back on the show because he does amazing work working with junior golfers. I know a lot of people listening, maybe you listen with your kids, maybe you have kids, maybe you're thinking about one day having kids that are going to get into the game. As golfers, we all love sharing the game, you know, and getting that opportunity to share the game with our kids is one of the best parts about it, if you ask me.
It really is, because now you got a sport that you could do with your kids, you know, at a young age. You know,
Right.
My 7-year-old can't reach the basketball hoop yet, things like that. So
Right,
plus
and
it's
you
a
get
game
them
we love.
outdoors, all those reasons why we like doing it. So we're going to ask some of the most common questions that parents have. We're going to ask Randy. We're going to talk everything about how to get them interested, to concerns you might have with the cost of it, whatever it may be, and also what to look for in a good golf program. They run a terrific program out there with Randy, and I think whether you are fortunate enough to be in the Southern California area and maybe you can work directly with Randy and his programs, or anywhere you can kind of see what he does to structure his program and what you can kind of look for and what a good program should look like. So we're going to dive into all that in a little bit. First, of course, we want to do this week's Twitter tap-in.
Okay.
Right? Because I mean, we have fun with these. Last week was a funny one with all those stories.
The random pairing.
Random pairing.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And actually, again, it just, some of this stuff just lines up by chance, because especially we've been shifting a lot of our interviews around because of weather and other stuff like that. But we ended up with another topic this week that just was perfect timing. So guys, if you're not already following us on Twitter, make sure you do so at Golficity so you can join the Twitter tap-in each week. And this week we asked, what is one thing you wish you knew when you first started playing golf?
Love it.
What are the chances, right? Lined up. We're talking about youth golf today.
Perfect.
What's one thing you wish you knew? And one thing, it reminds me, I want to ask Randy when we get him on later. There's certain concerns I have as somebody who's learned and how I know how hard it is to make swing changes. So getting your kids off on the right foot. So we're going to talk about that more in a second. But is there anything you, Mike, specifically?
I actually
you wish
replied
you'd
to
done?
this one.
You did.
There I am right there in the middle. I said, I wish I knew what club fitting was and how and why I should take lessons. At first, I just went out and hit a bunch of balls into the woods.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my golf obsession started. I was a baseball player. I loved swinging the club. I felt like I swung a ton. And it kind of might explain my tempo nowadays. But I really just wish I knew that club fitting was a thing. And I wish I knew, like I said, how to get lessons, meaning where do I go and why I should get lessons. Why is it important?
Yeah, I agree with you on that fitting thing. That was one of the biggest light bulb moments for me. The first time we got fit, we worked with Kevin Sprecher. Now it's going back, 3 years ago?
Yeah, about 3 years.
And prior to that, I played everything just off the rack. So it just, that made such a difference for me in confidence. Yeah, I agree. And I think also for me, I think one of the things that I wish I had learned earlier was about the idea of focusing more on short game, because I the more I play the game, more I realize that that's where the scoring happens. The more I realize that that's one of the areas my game needs the most improvement.
You would have spent more time on the putting greens than at the range.
Putting
go
greens,
way back, huh?
Chipping,
Yeah.
Those things, working on,
I agree with that.
pitch shots, because now I look back and I realize how much of my free time when I had it to work on my game was just going to the range and just.
Well, there's nothing fun about, hey, I'm getting into this new sport. I'm going to go to the range and just hit some putts.
Right.
No one does that.
Right. But we know that we've had all different people, learning and teaching the game on the show. And one thing that we learned is a lot of them who the way they approach the game was starting with the short game.
Yeah.
Sometimes youth golf, a lot of guys will start with the short game, and it just makes so much sense. It's something I wish I had done. But let's see some of these responses here.
One that jumped right off the page, Josh Hinkle. He said, I wish I knew that YouTube had many good instructions tips that everyone plays the game and learns the game in different ways. I always found myself trying to replicate and got easily frustrated until I really just found my own swing. And this goes back to me as well. That's another thing. Like, I found Andy and Piers as my first YouTube guys that taught golf, maybe like 5 or 6 years into the game. Like, it took a while. And I was like, hey, who are these guys? And then when I finally met them, I was like, you guys just, changed my game. You guys are great. And I wish I was watching those videos back, like Josh said.
We are fortunate, and then there's such a wealth of information out there now. This one's great from Doug K. He's just kind of exactly what I was just kind of, proving that point here. He says, one thing he wished he knew is that length means nothing and half of your shots are around the green. So practice chipping and putting till your hands bleed.
That's it.
I mean, I know he's being, a little bit facetious with length means nothing, because the reality is the more you can shorten the course, the better your scoring will be. But I think that's exactly right. The mindset is right, because so much of us, we worry so much about pounding the ball that we don't know what to do from 100 yards and in. And if you think about it, I mean, grab your last scorecard and just glance through it, and you'll realize that, like, how many times were you 100 yards out after one or two shots, and then all the rest of the shots happen there. 3 or 4 of the shots on the hole.
Absolutely. And we're seeing a very consistent theme here with everyone.
We are.
Brad Healy, how important chipping and putting is to lowering your scores. I'm seeing that a lot.
Yeah. And I love this one from Casey Loves Golf, who we always appreciate. He's always, hopping in there in the comments and things like that. But he said, so true. Go play as much as possible. When you get older, you won't have as much time to play. With a wife and kids, the playing frequency gets less and less. And it's so funny now, because we have that experience with the wife and the kids and things like that. When we have some of the younger guys like Jeremy, our interns, stuff like that, we see him playing 36 a day. We're like, go get it, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Go out and play it. And if it's one of those things that I don't think I would have believed it so much when I said it, how crunch for time your life becomes. We're going to talk about that, like, with youth golf and stuff. As these kids get busy, and on the weekends, now you're running them around to baseball practice, dance class, whatever it is.
Yep.
It's all that time that when you were younger, you were playing. So for all you younger guys and gals out there, listen up, play as much golf as you can. Not to say you won't be able to, but play as much golf as you can.
As you can. Absolutely.
Yeah. Jonathan T says, I wish I knew that it gets worse before it gets better.
Yep. There you go.
It is true. Anybody who's gone through like a swing change or learned something, realize that every time there's that growing pains, but I think the light at the end of the tunnel is that it does get better. Stick with it. Don't just slide back into old habits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of these are great. We got Rob at Philly Golfers. He just says the addiction level. We can all appreciate that.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of getting lessons early I'm seeing here.
Yes. And how about this one from KG? Says the progress is not linear. Yes. Remember that. It is so true, because it's so discouraging sometimes to feel like you were playing so well and then now you're not. But that's looking at it in too short of a timeline. Expand that timeline and just look at your progress over time. It's a slow roll towards better and better. Right. You got to ride out those ups and downs, because there's going to be plenty of them. That's for sure.
Absolutely. What else we got here? Philip Johnson, that my wife wouldn't love the idea of me being gone 4+ hours when I play. Yeah, you'll learn that quick.
Yeah. There's just so many here coming into like short game and things like
lessons,
that.
Yep.
Obviously, as we always say, we don't have enough time to read them all. So make sure you guys go follow us on Twitter. Use the hashtag #TwitterTappin, and you can check out some of these responses. But thank you to everybody who responded. And you can always still join the conversation, reply to that tweet, or drop your own take in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook. We love to keep that conversation going. But we got a lot to talk to Randy about, right? So let's go ahead and do a word from our sponsors, and then we're going to dive right in and bring Randy on the show. So first, we want to thank Titleist. Guys, the new TSI drivers offer players 2 distinct ways to take advantage of their most advanced metals lineup ever. And you can find the one that fits you, an experience of what it's like to step up on every tee and ready to perform. We know we've experienced that, and wow. I mean, one thing we've heard us say here on the show is that Titleist really took what they learned with the revolutionary TS line and applied it to the TSI. I was absolutely in love with my TS driver, and I said it would have to really do something to make me give that up. And that's exactly what the TSI did. You can really feel and see that it is there's a whole lot of that learning that went into it, but it is a whole new club. The new face technology, the ball just flies off the face. We both say we love the sound. They just sound so pure when you hit them. And I'm able to get that forgiveness that allows me to really kind of get into the ball with my driver. I'm hitting more fairways than I ever did before. Don't just take our word for it. Go out, find a Titleist Thursday event where you can demo these clubs for free. You can get fit for free at those events. However you got to do to, even to go to the big box store and just take one and get it in your hands and just feel it. I think you guys will be surprised at how great these drivers feel. But then one thing I will say is, when you're ready to make that commitment, Get that fitting, like you said before.
Get that fitting, man.
Get it dialed.
That was wild.
It makes such a great
The
difference.
changes. Oh.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? We haven't even really had a full season of that. I think we played one round, Hamilton Farms, one full 18 with that. We played some other 9-hole things and a couple competitions. We hit it in the sim, but this is going to be here to really rip it out
I
there.
can't
man.
wait to get a year under my belt with the driver.
I'm just curious, But anyway, just also want to just thank FootJoy. The all-new Hyperflex from FootJoy is tuned for golf with every detail designed and developed with the golfer in mind, starting at the top. It looks awesome. I love this shoe. I say it's probably hands down the best golf shoe that's ever been created. I'm probably going to wear it all year, including to bed. I mean, this thing, the mesh material on the upper provides this great fit that forms to your foot. It's kind of like a sock. And it's fully waterproof. Next, they got this all-new Rapid Fit system that ensures a dialed-in precision fit, which wraps your foot in complete security. I mean, it's all important because we walk a lot of golf. I mean, sometimes we play 36. We go on golf trips. Those are coming back, guys. Golf trips are coming back. So we're going to be playing those long stretches of golf. It offers so much comfort with that Strato foam midsole coupled with that OptiFlex outsole. I mean, it's got everything you need, whether walking or swinging. It's available now. You can get it in the laced version, or you can get it in that new Rapid Fit BOA system. Mm-hmm. Shop now at footjoy.com.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and bring Randy Chang on the show, back on the show right now, and talk youth golf. All right, guys. So we are happy to welcome back on the show Randy Chang. He's the director of instruction at Journey at Pechanga in Southern California. It's hard to believe. We were talking about this right before we hit the record button here, Randy, but can you believe it's been almost 5 years since we last spoke?
I cannot believe that. When I was thinking about it, I thought it was maybe a couple of years, a couple of summers ago is what it felt like. But then, watching you guys show, starting to get, with this type of venue, seeing you, it's great what you folks are doing.
Oh, we appreciate that. It is wild how time flies, but what we're going to talk about largely is about youth golf. And I know that's a big focus for you is instruction. You've been doing this for a long time, 35 years that you've been in the game. But it's funny, since our last talk, our kids we're starting to get into the game. Mike has 2 daughters. I have 2 daughters. They were the younger ones weren't even born yet, and the older ones were only maybe 1 and 2 years old. But now they're at to that point where they're starting to get of the age to play golf. So we've got a lot of questions for you there. But before we dive in, anybody who didn't hear the show when we last spoke, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Pechanga and Journey and what you do there?
Yeah, so I had, as you said, you said 35 years ago, so it's been another 5, so now it's 40. So it's I can't believe it. It's
talk
going
about
that
time
fast,
flying, right? Exactly.
And it's going even faster these days with the pandemic and everything else. But we've gotten extremely busy. I got into this business again 40 years ago. First, going the route of becoming an engineer, as my parents wanted me to become. And while I remember that defining moment in college where when I started actually playing the game, I said, wow, if there's something that I'd like to wake up and do every day, I'd rather do that than going out and digging ditches. So I remember getting out of the engineering facet of it and decided to become a golf pro. So that's how it all started. And back in those days, I was competing at that age with the Freddie Couples, the Marco Meras, the Tom Leymans were all back in those days, getting through college and just getting on the tour. So I didn't have much success in getting that far. But from there, I decided to get into the business of golf and running golf courses, teaching, and it's Kim 40 years now, where now I have multiple golf schools here in Southern California, and our main niche, as you can kind of see in the background, I really enjoy is teaching that the young juniors. But what we have learned today, after all these years, I feel we kind of have gone about it the wrong way from the standpoint of health, safety, and what we're seeing here today, the last maybe 5 years on how the physical aspect of the game, learning from Tiger, who has gone through his 5th back surgery, and how we used him as a model because he started at 2.5 years old. So that developed our Tiny T's program 20 years ago, and now we're treating it a lot different than we did back then.
So what are some of those differences? And if you could give us an idea of what age groups you work with now. I know one big question, we get it often, whether it be on the side or in our Facebook group, people will often ask, I've got young kids. What is that point where you get them started? And we'll talk more about even how to kind of build that interest, because I think that's a big key is just getting them interested. And it's very difficult with kids at a young age to do that. And a part of it is just trying to make it fun. But where are you at with that right now? Is there a certain age group where you encourage people to start more formalized instruction when it comes to golf?
Well, when it comes to introducing the game of golf to them, we are introducing them at as young as 3 years of age. We have our Tiny T's program, like I said, that we've been doing for the past 20 some odd years. That our niche market was like 3, 5, 6 years of age. And the reason why we're successful with that, or have been successful with that this whole time, is because of Tiger. So we introducing them to the game at that age is the way we go ahead and teach it. It's been very successful. The kids have fun, and going forward to where like your kids are at is where they start. I guess really understanding what it's like. They can get around a golf course at that age, at around 6, 7, 8. The way that we go about teaching and introducing the kids at that age, they're out playing competitive golf now. So it's just a matter of how and what we tell them to do, at the real young age. At Journey of Pachanga, we have the different phases where we have the Tiny T's, 3 to 6 years of age. From there, then we get from 7 till about 12, where they can get a little bit more competitive and playing the game, on the golf course. A lot of these kids these days are beating their parents at 8, 9, 10 years of age.
Yeah.
And then specializing for the ones that want to take it to the next level around 14, 15, where they decide, that's okay, we want to play golf competitively at the next level, meaning playing in high school, want to get to college, or even further to make it on tour.
Gotcha. And did you happen to see, especially in this past year, we often say the kind of the silver lining of some of what went on with COVID was that it shined a spotlight on golf, because it was one of those sports that you could go out and play safely. And we saw a lot of a younger audience coming even to the podcast and things like that, because we found that a lot of them, their team sports were more or less put on pause. So a lot of them were picking up golf clubs for the first time. That's here, at least locally. We saw a lot of that. Did you see that similarly? Was there any type of uptick in more of an interest in the game in 2020 for you?
It's been happening all over the world. It's been all over the nation, especially during this past year. Our classes waiting lists now. Unfortunately, we can't do the big groups, and so we've had to take the groups that we had and make them into smaller groups so we can make sure everyone's safe during these times. So we've had to work longer hours and make more time for smaller groups. So not to complain that we're extremely busy, but what you experience over there is happening all over the nation, especially with us as well. When it comes to the junior programs, everybody, all my other professionals up here in the area are all extremely busy, as well as the golf course. And we're having some issues now that the golf courses are real busy. We have a hard time getting on the golf course now for the next levels that are trying to play competitively, because the golf courses are all so busy.
Gotcha. One of the biggest questions that we often get, and Mike and I have experienced it ourselves with our own kids, is how much of it is like kind of a push versus a pull. Like when us as golfers, and pretty much all golfers can relate to this when they have kids, is that they want to share the game with their kids. They want to get them involved, but it's not quite knowing how to walk that line of, we talked about earlier, like that interest, getting them interested in a way that's like almost seems a little bit more organic than kind of pushing them into it. Because there's a lot of reasons why we would want our kids to play the game. Not only do we love it, but also for the reasons, as we said, it's a good, safe sport, those types of things. What advice would you have for our listeners who are parents who are saying, I want to get my kids into the game, but I want to do it the right way where it sticks and it's something that they feel like they're part of that decision?
So in the past, I'd say 5 to 10 years, there are now programs like what we've had here for a long time, but like in your area now, the PGA of America has done a really good job of starting to get the people that do what we do out there to the general public. So, going to the PGA.com and looking for a instructor that has a program developed like what we have here in Southern California at Pachanga is kind of the first step, because they'll have now, before it's just go and take a lesson, but now that we have a lot of great instructors, coaches that are doing, again, what we do with the juniors to get them as well acclimated and interested in the game. And we're doing a lot better job of making it more fun for them. Where I like to get them really interested at a younger age is because one of the main reasons, not so much pushing them into the game, but right around that age of 4, 5, 6, a lot of times the kids just want to do something with their parents, so just to bring them out to the range, they just want to be there. And then once they see what you do, then you go into these programs that we can teach these kids so fast now with the types of process that we use now, where you see how technical things have gotten, right? I know you folks are constantly around the game of golf, and all the teachers and what's on YouTube, and everything's gotten so complicated, which has been great for it's been good for us as teachers and coaches. But when it comes to teaching, somebody that's just getting into the game, we had to really simplify it, as well as making it a lot more fun to attract them to stay and then retain them once we get them in.
Randy, taking it a little step further, I mean, once getting them in the game, now being involved, and the example would be my now 8-year-old, who I started her when she was about 5, and we did some camps and some junior camps, and she's got a great swing. She's able to make contact. She's able to hit the ball. She enjoys it. It was only a 30-minute or an hour lesson, and then we would go home, and then that was it. I would then bring her out on the golf course, and the biggest struggle is the stamina. It's after 3 holes of just frustration, a 7-year-old is going to give up. And we had Dr. Joseph Perrin on the podcast not long ago, and he gave us a great tip about playing with your child and hitting the golf ball to where they hit the golf ball, not showing them up and sticking the green. Hit it 20 yards in front. I have yet to try it. But similar to that, is there any advice you can give to kind of keep that stamina up, or keep that kid or that young brain engaged out on the golf course, or even out on a practice facility?
Well, I'll tell you what has worked for us real well on that matter is what we found. You folks are familiar with the PGA Junior League, and what we have seen is that when you get them in that type of environment at that age, where they're with others in a kind of a more competitive environment, but at the same time, where with this format, they don't have to be real good to get started. But we have seen, not only the kids wanting to go back out there and play in that format, it's retained them, and they've gotten better at a faster rate than if they were just in our program and took those lessons or took that camp. that junior league format, kind of a team concept, has been unbelievable since it was instigated back then. So that's one thing. When you get out there, like what Dr. Joe Parent has discussed, is getting out there and playing the course, not from back where you normally play, but start at the 150-yard marker and go on. And it's like what you said, have them hit the shot and you play, with them in that scramble format, so you can keep up with pace of play, and just getting them to understand, playing the game and how much fun that could be. But that little competitive part of it, where, hey, let's play for, hey, if you win, I'll do the dishes. If you lose, you wash my car. But just
Right.
keeping that little competitive thing really starts to, for most part, keeps the kids enjoying it during their time of either practicing on the range or playing.
Gotcha. And I want you to go back a second and speak a little bit more specifically about your program. You had mentioned about it making it fun and engaging and things like that. But just to give us an idea of, from a parent standpoint, what it would look like to see our kids go through your program, because I think that'd be also educational on our behalf of just knowing kind of what to expect, what a good program for juniors looks like.
Yeah. So number one, it's organized, and there's also levels that the parents want to see, improvement. And so we have our different levels. We have our development level when you first sign up. The other thing that we've made a big stress upon, and this is through, if you folks are familiar with the ADM model and the PGA.coach, if anyone has talked about that. But what they've done is made the study, 25-year study with the Olympic, I think it was Olympic hockey, where bringing the kids up from when they first started, from 3 years all the way till age 14 or 15, that we build athletes. So the fitness side of it, we've added to all of our programs, just a good 5-10 minutes of the kind of the TPI things that they've recommended all over the years. But when they come in, we definitely feel that's very important for all parts of life. So the fitness side of it, some of the TPI stuff, getting these kids and training them to become athletes all through this process until they get to that 14, 15 years of age is really important. From there, like I say, if you just got started, the first level one, they just have to do a few things where there's an actual testing, like if you went to martial arts and going from the white belt to the yellow belt and so on. I think that's really important for the parents to see that, okay, they're just going to take all this and then put some onus on the parents as well to say, okay, you have to practice and get them, involved with that routine as you would with any other sport that you'd play. A lot of programs that you do see out there, and I said they've gotten so much better now than it was in the past, where it was just, okay, you'll take a week-long camp, you come in and just take a series of lessons from us, and then that's it. So we try to retain them in that sense. So they'll take the level one. They have to do some simple things like hold their finish for 3 seconds, and be able to do some very simple things to get through that first level. And then we give them, a white hat that signifies that, okay, we've gone through level one. And then the next level, they have to do a few more things specifically to get to the next level. By our third level, they're basically golf course ready. And so they see the kids that are on the golf course, they have to go through, at least the first 2 levels. And again, with some testing after each of those series of lessons. So to me, that's what retains the kids. That's what gets them, saying, "Hey, I like that hat. I want to get my next hat." So see that type of program, I think would be something the parents would like to look for. To the point like now we have the next level, and this is that top level where we're using technology that you see where I'm at, where we have our golf lab now, where we've got all the high tech stuff in here. The launch monitors, everything like what Shay talked about, with custom club fitting. So you can go from 3 years all the way through college in our program. And so I think that's what the parents should look out for is that type of organization, and in a way that they can actually see their kids are getting better.
Yeah. And I love that concept of the hats, or however we want to implement it. It's from every experience that we've seen with it, especially with kids, is that they're so motivated by that, whether it be that they're used to like playing video games and there's always that achieving that next level. There's something like that. There's something with the way we're wired that we like those little steps. So I love that, whether it be the hats or like you talk about in martial arts, it's the belt, but something that visually and physically signifies to them that they've reached a level. It's a level that they can feel proud of, because golf too is such a complex sport. And sometimes I think a lot of the frustration why a lot of people get away from the game is because they're looking so far. They're saying this goal, and that's where we talked about, like Mike had said, the frustration that they experience when they go out there and play with you, and they're like, I can't do anything like that. Just those things where they have that moment where they can feel like, hey, I've achieved something. I'm making some progress here. I think that is one of the best ways to, in my own personal experience anyway, to get kids to stay and hang on to the game.
Yeah. So our thing as the PGA of America is really pushing is, getting the kids to learn how to play as fast as possible. We've gotten into the mechanics of the golf swing, in my opinion, a little too much. And, when you get to that level, like you want to go to play in college or want to play on tour, and you get to a certain age where you can understand those type of things, we need to keep things real simple. So we'll have the kids on the course in a matter of basically in 2 months. And then on the course, they get a lot better on the course through this junior league format that has come about. And then from there, they've already got now, and what we've seen, that we feel like we've taught our kids so well that at that point in another year, they are beating their parents,
Yeah.
So, and that's always the coolest thing, as you know, is like, man, I want to beat my dad at that.
Of course, of course. And I love that concept of not getting too hung up on the mechanics, because I think that can be another point where it can cause kids to feel overwhelmed or lose interest. But I think the question that would come in my mind as a parent would be, what is that line of how much mechanics do you do, in so much as I think my fear as being a golfer and looking back would be this fear of having to relearn something. I know how hard it is to change certain flaws in my swing that when I think about it, I've been doing them for so long, they're so hard to change. Or you hear people say, like, if you've got to go through a grip change, how tough that can be. So what should a parent be looking at when it comes to those mechanics? How concerned should they be if they see their kid doing something wrong, of like, it's the worry there that they're going to be like, this is going to be so hard for my kid to fix later.
And so that's where obviously each coach will have a difference on how we approach that. In fact, we start with that. It's like they're going to, since from their 3 all the way to what you're going to change, you're going to make changes. So our approach is how to go about going through that process of making change. They'll be changing all the way through. We have some basic stuff that we do, and I think we talked about that our first meeting is our mechanics philosophy is, you go with a Y, you go to an L, you go to backwards L, and you hold your finish for 3 seconds, and that's the base going all the way through. That's the simplicity of it. making those changes. And by the way, I watch you guys put your swings, and you guys got good swings. You can all hit a golf ball just fine. I could help your
Well,
putting
thank you.
though, Frank. Um,
Yeah, I could use
just
all
the
the help I could
mechanic,
get.
just,
Yeah,
There it is.
just the mechanics. I mean, both, both of your mechanics part. If you watch it, there's just a handful of things that we feel are just the fundamentals, and it really isn't rocket science uh, to hit a golf ball.
hmm
And that's what we try to tell the parents, and we show them through our process. Say, look, I can make you look and swing like Tiger or whoever you want through this simple little process that we do, that you can hit a golf ball. Playing the game
yeah,
is a whole different story.
it's true.
Like when I watch you folks, playing the game of golf is extremely hard. So we try the mechanics of getting someone. I can get somebody to hit a golf ball, to understand why they hit it fat, why they hit it thin or topping it, why they go right, why they go left, or why they shank it, in a month's time, and 4 lessons. If you have to make a grip change, that grip change comes about real easy if we're not into this feeling thing of uncomfort. You have a hard time. If you make a grip change, both of you know how uncomfortable it feels, right?
For sure,
And
absolutely.
when you're uncomfortable, and then things happen to your body where your hands start tensing up and you feel like, okay, I can't hit the ball. But we start these all of our students from the kids on out is like, we don't worry about hitting a golf ball. We just worry about making a swing, and however it feels, it feels. So we start them by getting them comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm.
And then you can make, worry how it feels, and you just go ahead and just do it. It's just an action. And after a few swings, and all it takes is a couple of swings, and then you hit one ball good, and then all of a sudden it's comfortable again. But going through that process is kind of what we do. And Dr. Joe Parent is uh, a big fan of, and I've studied a lot of stuff. I've listened to him talk. He's talked over here at our seminars in California,
hmm
and I love what he says. He says, golf, when they say how much is mental and physical, he said, golf is 90% mental and 10% mental. And so it's just, we train these kids how to think and get them ready
Yeah.
mentally to be able to make changes down the line. And so that's where our approach is definitely a lot different than, I don't want to say old school, just how I used to
Right.
teach before.
I like that though. The foundation that you're creating is of a student. The foundation is of somebody who can learn to adapt rather than rigid fundamentals. That makes sense. Rigid, swing fundamentals.
Yes.
Because as a golfer, you got to be able to learn and adapt, because at any point you can always work on getting better. So that's really great.
Yeah.
One of the last things I wanted to ask you before we let you go here is another common question that often comes up, and I think you've got some possible tips for us here. Maybe it's a misconception perhaps, but people think, well, I'm a little bit wary to get my kid into golf because it's so expensive. Golf gets labeled with this expensive. Now, I'll make the case that any sport could be like that. If you're a parent who's invested in hockey equipment or something like that, anything could be a dance. Dance classes could be expensive, whatever it may be. But what tips would you have, or what would you say to a parent who is a little bit, that's one of their concerns, is they don't want to quite go down that path because they're worried, I'm setting my kid up for something they're going to want to do and I won't be able to afford it.
Yeah, and you made the main point is it's like in anything that you do, it costs a lot. I mean, football, I got my son to football, and it paid for all the pads and everything.
Yeah.
It's no different than all the clubs, but there is so much out there now, especially with the online and all these new companies that come out for equipment. You can get equipment to get started very inexpensive. If you just do some of the research on some of those trade-in companies that are coming on up. I know like Roger Dunn has that great program over here. We do that ourselves. And when they first start, we have clubs that we let them borrow to get on in. And if they do decide they want to do it, there's so many great junior programs that your individual states have. Like, for instance, in Southern California, the SCG, Southern California Golf Association, as well as our Southern California PGA section, has all these great programs that we work with the golf courses that they can play the game for $5 to $10, at certain times, which is usually at the end of the day, 2 hours before, where these kids can play golf for $5 to $10. And the junior league is another one that is very, I wouldn't say inexpensive, but basically will be on that same level of dance and ballet, where you can play all these golf courses in that type of league, like Little League and baseball or so on. So it's really not as expensive as we have lent it to be over the years, especially for us as well, with these third party, the tee time companies that have come into play, that you can find great deals to play really good golf courses these days. Mm-hmm. So those things are being too expensive, takes too much time, it's too hard to learn, right? So those are your three main issues on why the parents are out there asking, do I want to get them in? Well, we're showing them that it's not hard to learn. I can get your junior on the golf course in the matter of 2 to 3 months of in our program. Right now, we're working on playing 6 holes, 5 holes, 9 holes now, right? So it's not taking as long. And with this pandemic, one of the neat things that has happened is, I don't know, speed of play just started getting better with the spreading out of the tee times, the single riding, even the walking. More people are walking now, and they're playing faster than they used to before. And this was an age-old problem that we've dealt with over the years. At Journey at Pechanga, our course is one of the top courses in Southern California, but it can be very difficult because it plays all through the canyons, and we used to be a minimum 5.5 hours. Now that's gone to 4.5, and it's been crazy what this thing has done. So it's made it so much more enjoyable. This is at this time, which hopefully we can maintain that to get these people into the game.
No doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, again, always looking for those silver linings. Well, Randy, it's great to get that chance to talk to you again. I'm sure a lot of this has been just terrific insight for anyone who's asking those exact questions, getting their kids into the game. Now, for anybody who is in the Southern California area and would like to, I know you had said there's a lot of waiting lists and stuff like right now. I know you're very busy, but anybody who wants to find out more about your specific program and potentially getting their kids involved, what's the best way for them to do that?
Again, you can go to the Journey Journey Pechanga website, which will direct them right through the instructional programs. We also have our Randy Chang PGA.com that gets us to the whole Randy Chang golf schools and what we do, more information on what we do. But that'd be the best way to kind of contact us and get them going. We're actually we've got Temecula Creek, as you heard from Shay last week. So we have 2 golf courses now to be able to utilize, and we're building that program over there, Temecula Creek and Pechanga as well.
That's terrific. Yeah. And what we'll do too is we'll link all of those in the video and podcast description so everybody can check that out. But again, Randy, we appreciate it. Could you just do me a favor? Send some of that Southern California warm weather up here, because, we got to get back out on the golf course as soon as possible.
Well, I think I told you guys, your winter months, you guys have to just make your way out over here and do some of the shows out over here, and and just plan that for next year. Put it in the budget.
That's exactly it. Now
sounds good.
Don't you have to twist our arm too hard. But again, Randy, thank you. It's been great once again having you on the show. And again, I just love, seeing all the things that you're doing for youth golf, because it is, not only is it great for the kids and the parents, but it's getting that next generation interested and understanding and knowing how to play the game, which ultimately helps. What we all want to do is grow the game. So thank you for everything you do. And thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Hey, I appreciate you guys and what you folks do. That's a great place to get people to talk about the game. So thanks a lot.
Hey, it's great speaking with you, and I'm sure, hopefully, it won't be another full 5 years before we talk to you.
Yeah,
again.
right.
We'll get you back on the show, and we'll talk to you again soon.
I'd be happy to.
All right, so that was fun. I mean, I know every time I speak to Randy or some of the other guys who work in youth golf, I learn something. So hopefully you guys listening along learn something as well. And because it's just it can be kind of, as a parent, like a little bit intimidating, because we have such a desire as golfers to have our kids feel that same enjoyment for the game that we feel.
Mm-hmm.
But we also at the same time understand the frustration and understand at their age, it can be even more difficult. So it really is about just finding that right program, and then just supporting them in that journey.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that frustration, like I kept saying, it's the hardest thing. I can't get my daughter to play more than 4 holes.
Yeah.
And maybe that's all it is. Maybe that's it. And then it's just pack it in, come back another time. But I'm really going to try that Dr. Joseph parent trick, as well as some of the tips that Randy that mentioned, because I really think I can get her back. I feel like I'm losing her from golf.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can get her back in.
Yeah, I think so. I always like that tip. And you guys go back and check out that episode with Dr. Joseph Parent. You want to hear a little bit more about that. And we always encourage you guys to check out some of the old episodes. Check out our last episode with Randy, mm-hmm. where we dove into a little bit more of the mechanic stuff. I know we wanted to talk about some new things this time, but that was back in episode 11. So you can go to golficity.com. I'm sorry, 111. Mm-hmm. Wow, 11 is really back. But go to golficity.com/episode 111, which you can get, there, or you can get it in the Golficity app, where we have all of the old episodes. But yeah, I think that was interesting to me, where he had mentioned that he's like, sometimes we play 5 holes, 7 holes, 9 holes. Mm-hmm. But I think one of my favorite parts are those programs that put those stepping stones. We've seen it before firsthand. A lot of the other places that we've worked with, whether it be that Connecticut Golf School, to the guys with Game Like Training, the different hats, and then kids, they want that. They wear it with pride when they reach that next level. So I think that in a sport that you can play your whole life and never master, finding programs that give kids these small wins are something that's going to help them stick with the game.
For sure. 100%.
And if you're willing to do the legwork as a parent, it doesn't have to be incredibly expensive. As you said, there's ways you can find those tee times that are a little bit discounted. You can do all types of things with different club options. I know even for myself, a lot of my older clubs, I'm saving them because I'm going to just cut them to fit them one day. Yeah. And exactly. Just anything like that just kind of getting a little bit creative. Golf gets labeled with that, gets slapped with that too expensive label. But again, you can find ways to get out there and just enjoy it.
And his point about, joining with other groups, I found that my best advice is, my daughter's always excelled when she's went to the group fitness group lessons where there's other kids, so she can watch them make mistakes too. And see it. When it's one-on-one, she gets frustrated that she's not doing what the teacher's doing and whatever. But he was spot on about the groups. Yeah,
and it gives them that, they make friends, the camaraderie. Yeah, exactly. It's just so many good benefits to it. But anyway, whatever it is, whether you've had good experiences, frustrations, whatever it is with youth golf, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's you yourself, maybe you learning as being a youth golfer, because I know there's a lot of younger golfers who watch and listen to the show. Let us know your own experiences in the comments or in the Facebook group, because we'd love to hear it. It's a learning experience for all of us. But at the end of the day, the more we can help kids learn the game, the more we are guaranteeing the future of the game. We're all invested in it. I think it's an important thing. 100%. That's everything we have for you guys this week. You can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 364. We'll link to all of Randy's contact information is there as well. And you can get that in the Golficity app. Thanks again to Randy for stopping by the show again, and we'll see everybody again next week.